two economists built a mathematical model of what's happening to tech workers right now. Their conclusion is that every company doing this already knows it's a collective mistake, and they're doing it anyway, and the model shows they just cannot stop. This is the Olive Badger channel, and you've seen the layoff headlines, you know the body count. Today we're going deeper than that into why rational companies with full information keep making choices that will hurt them, and what the long-term damage looks like when an industry decides its workforce is a cost center rather than an asset. To be upfront about where I stand here, advancing technology isn't inherently bad. Automation isn't inherently bad, but workers are rational actors too, and they have every right to advocate for an outcome that doesn't require them to absorb all the downside of someone else's arms race. That's what this episode is about. Now, there is even a paper that explains exactly why this happens and exactly why it can't fix itself. And when you read it, the headlines stop looking like bad decisions and start looking like an intentional mechanism. Now, fair warning, guys. I am moving at the moment in Utah. My husband's in the Army. He's getting stationed out in Kentucky, Tennessee, and everything's pretty much packed up right now. So please bear with me. I hope the B-roll I found is soothing given the outrageous nature of this video, and I'm really hoping to be able to get set up quickly, get back on Basecamp. But I appreciate your patience. Let's get into it. So in March 2026, Brett Hemingway Falk at the University of Pennsylvania and Gary Cicala at Boston University published a working paper called The AI Layoff Trap. I'm going to walk you through what it actually says in plain English because I think it's one of the most important things published this year, and from what I've been able to see, most people haven't read it. Now, the setup is simple: a competitive market, several companies, a new technology that can replace workers at lower cost, and each company decides how much of its workforce to automate. The question the paper asks is that given that companies can see exactly what's coming, will rational self-interest lead them to good collective outcomes? The answer is no, just in case you were wondering, and here's why. When a company fires workers and replaces them with AI, it captures 100% of the cost savings. But fired workers are also consumers, so when their income disappears, demand falls across the whole market, not just at the company that fired them. The damage lands on every competitor roughly equally. So the company doing the cutting gets all of the upside and absorbs only a fraction of the downside. The rest kind of just lands on everyone else. The paper calls this a demand externality. Each company sees its own cost saving clearly. Each company only perceives a small slice of the collective demand it's destroying, so every individual company has a rational incentive to automate more than is good for the market as a whole, and they're all doing it at the same time. Here's the part that I think should stop you cold. The model assumes full transparency. Every company can see exactly how automation maps to lost income and lost demand. This isn't a story about companies acting in ignorance. The cliff is visible. They see it, and the model shows they race toward it anyway. The reason is that restraint isn't a viable individual strategy, so if your competitor automates and you don't, you've absorbed the demand destruction their layoffs caused without capturing any of the cost savings. So you're worse off than if you'd automated too. So you automate, everyone does, and the collective outcome is worse for all of them. The paper formalizes this as the prisoner's dilemma, which is kind of like a game theory concept worth knowing because it makes the mechanics a lot more clear. So we'll run through it really quick. You have two people who are arrested and put in separate rooms with the same offer. You testify against your partner and you go free while they get a long sentence. If you both stay silent, you both get a short sentence. If you both testify, you both get a medium sentence. The problem is that testifying is the rational move regardless of what the other person does. So if your partner stays silent, you're better off testifying. If your partner testifies, you're still better off testifying. So both people testify, both get the medium sentence, even though both staying silent would have been better for both of them. Making sense? Like, individual rationality produces collective harm, and you can't escape it by agreeing to cooperate because the incentive to defect survives the handshake. Automating is testifying. In the extreme version of the model, full automation is a strictly dominant strategy. Every company does it regardless of what anyone else does. And the result isn't a transfer from workers to shareholders. The paper is explicit. Both sides ultimately lose. Workers lose income, companies lose the consumer demand their revenue depends on. The surplus doesn't go anywhere. It just ends up being a dead weight loss. Then comes the finding that makes this worse. When AI gets faster, better, cheaper, more capable, the problem deepens rather than resolves. The authors call this the Red Queen effect, which is a reference to Through the Looking Glass. The Red Queen tells Alice that it takes all the running can do to keep in the same place. So evolutionary biologists borrowed it to describe arm races between species where predators get faster, so prey gets faster, so predators get faster again, and neither side gains any ground. Everyone just burns more energy to stay even. And that's exactly what happens here. Each company races to automate more than its rivals. At equilibrium, everyone has automated at the same rate, and the competitive gains cancel out completely. Nobody got ahead. The only thing that changed is that more workers were displaced, more demand was destroyed, and the collective damage is larger than before. Better AI lowers the cost of running, so everyone runs faster, the race intensifies, and the market failure gets worse. The paper even runs some of the numbers on every proposed solution, because there's some proposed solutions here, and this matters because each failure tells you something about where the problem actually lives. First up was universal basic income, and you can use that to raise the floor on living standards, but it doesn't change the calculation any individual company is making. The per-task automation decision depends on each firm's own cost savings versus the fraction of demand destruction it perceives. UBI adds a consumption baseline, but doesn't touch that margin, so automation rate remains unchanged. You have a capital income tax, but it doesn't work for the same structural reason. A profit tax scales the whole profit function by a constant, but doesn't change the relative incentive to automate versus not. The per-task calculation that drives the arm race, again, remains unchanged. You have voluntary agreements between companies to collectively restrain automation, and that fails because automation is a dominant strategy. Even if every company in the room agrees that restraint would benefit everyone, each firm's best individual move is still to defect. So no non-binding arrangement is self-enforcing when the incentive to break it persists. The only instrument the paper says actually corrects the distortion is a word I am going to butcher. Pavlovian automation tax, a per-task levy set equal to the uninternalized demand loss each company is imposing on its competitors, something that changes the per-task margin directly. The paper acknowledges it's politically difficult and that a unilateral tax pushes adoption offshore, but the logic at least is airtight, and every proposed fix that doesn't operate on the individual firm's automation incentive does fail. So that rules out most of what's currently being discussed. So now, to look at the layoff announcements, they read differently through this lens. You have Meta with 8,000 people. Microsoft has a first voluntary retirement program in 51 years, like targeting employees whose age plus tenure hits 70. With AI and Copilot teams explicitly exempt from the entire program, how convenient. Oracle had up to 30,000 cuts by 6 a.m. via email. Block CEO Jack Dorsey cutting 40% of his workforce and writing a shareholder letter that said plainly, intelligence tools have changed what it means to build and run a company. Apparently he still had a job though. More than 95,000 tech workers gone by April, while the four biggest players are on track to spend $674 billion on AI infrastructure this year. Worth noting, the AI they're buying costs more than the people they fired. NVIDIA's VP of Applied Deep Learning said it directly that for my team, the cost of compute is far beyond the cost of the employees. And Mark Andreessen recently said about the companies he invested, now they all have the silver bullet excuse. It's AI. Challenger, Gray, and Christmas found that AI is the fifth most common stated reason for job cuts in 2026. Fifth, behind market conditions, restructuring, and closures. Most of these people are being let go for the same reasons companies have always cut headcount. AI is just the press release, but Here's what the paper clarifies. It doesn't matter whether companies are cynical or sincere, the mechanism runs the same either way. The competitive structure ensures that even companies acting in genuine good faith are trapped in a race that individually rational logic drives toward collectively harmful outcomes, and the market rewards it. Block's stock jumped over 20% the day 4,000 people were fired. Microsoft shares fell nearly 4% when they announced the gentler voluntary option. The kinder approach ultimately performed worse with investors. This is the trap, not a conspiracy, a structure. Here's what the companies focused on this quarter aren't looking at. 3 things are already in motion that are going to be very expensive to reverse. So first up, you have the boomerang. Klarna fired 700 customer service workers in 2023, went on CNBC to announce the AI was doing the work of all of them. By 2025, they were rehiring. Satisfaction scores dropped, complex interactions overwhelmed the AI. Repeat contacts went up. The cost savings never materialized because quality failures ate into what they thought they were saving, and then came the recruitment and onboarding costs for replacing the people who already knew the systems. Their CEO's admission was that we focused too much on efficiency and cost. The result was lower quality, and that's not sustainable. Forrester research found that 55% of companies that executed AI-driven layoffs already regret it. They predict half of those positions will be quietly reversed, rehired offshore, or at lower salaries. A CareerMinds survey of 600 HR professionals found that nearly a third of HR leaders reported losing critical skills and expertise the moment those employees left, and only 1 in 5 said AI fully replaced eliminated roles without operational issues. Companies just don't hold press conferences to announce that they were wrong. The reversals are happening quietly, but the damage isn't, which leads us to the pipeline. Computer science enrollment dropped 8.1% in the 2025-2026 school year, the largest single fall of any major discipline since at least 2020. CS went from the 4th largest undergraduate major to 6th in 1 year. 62% of universities surveyed reported declining computer enrollment. Students are watching what's happening to early career tech workers and making rational choices. Employment for software developers aged 22 to 25 declined nearly 20% from its 2022 peak by mid-2025. Entry-level tech hiring at the 15 biggest firms fell 25% between 2023 and 2024. CS graduates now face 6.1% unemployment, while philosophy majors sit oddly at 3.2% and art history at 3%. The learn to code promise that an entire generation was sold has become, at least in the data, one of the higher risk career bets you can make. So they're pivoting. Mechanical engineering enrollment is up 11%, electrical engineering up 14%, healthcare, trades, government, fields where presence is required and automation can't easily substitute, and those students are not coming back. IBM's chief HR officer said what this means in 3 to 5 years is no junior talent pipeline, which means poaching mid-level workers from competitors at a 30% premium who don't know your culture or your code base. IBM has even decided to triple entry-level hiring in 2026 while everyone else cuts. Their conclusion is that the companies that win in 5 years are the ones that invested in their talent bench right now. The well doesn't refill itself. And then you have trust. Manpower Group surveyed nearly 14,000 workers across 19 countries in 2026. AI usage jumped 13% in 2025. Confidence in that technology dropped 18% in the same period. Workers are being handed tools without training, context, or support, and they know it. Deloitte's Trust ID Index found that frontline worker trust in company-provided generative AI fell in 3 months. Trust in agentic AI, meaning tools that act independently rather than assist, dropped 89%. Forrester tracks a category they call coasters, workers who've decided their employer doesn't deserve their discretionary effort. That group is projected to be 28% of the workforce in 2026, more than 1 in 4 people showing up and doing the minimum because they've watched what happens to people who gave more. The compact between employer and employee, like the idea that if you invest in a company, the company invests back in you, is being systematically dismantled. The people watching that happen are drawing the obvious conclusion about where to put their career capital, and when these companies decide they need skilled human judgment again, and they will, those people are going to remember how this period went. Ultimately, they're going to regret it. Now, here's my take. I use AI. I do think it belongs. It's a piece of technology that's not going back in the box. Automation as a tool, I don't think is inherently the problem. I do want to be clear about that because this topic kind of gets flattened into tech bad or anti-AI pretty fast, and that's not what the evidence actually shows. The problem is a specific market structure that guarantees companies will do more collective damage than is rational, with no mechanism to stop them. The paper isn't arguing that automation is wrong, it's arguing that the competitive structure drives every individual company to automate beyond the point that makes collective sense, and that the loss falls on workers and companies both. A market failure, not a moral one, a structural one. And here's the thing, workers are rational actors too. The companies making these decisions are doing what the incentive structure rewards them for doing. The workers watching it happen are doing the exact same thing. Students are looking at entry-level tech employment data and choosing mechanical engineering. Experienced workers are moving to fields that feel stable. People are putting their career capital somewhere it won't evaporate in the next restructuring announcement. That's not irrational. That's the same logic the companies are using, applied from the other side of the table. But the structural failure has human consequences. Students are leaving the pipeline. Early career talent is going to fields that feel stable. The people watching colleagues get fired by 6 a.m. email are drawing conclusions about where to build their lives. The companies loudest about replacing humans with AI right now are going to need skilled humans in 5 years to run the systems they're building. And those humans are currently becoming mechanical engineers. Now, trust at scale, once broken, is not a line item you can fix in Q3. The paper's final note is that all of its models, extensions, and limitations point in the same direction. The problem is likely larger than what they can show, not smaller. I don't know if the correction comes from policy. What I do think is that it comes because it has to. The boomerang is already happening quietly, the pipeline is already narrowing, and the demand externality doesn't care whether anyone intended this. The question is whether the industry corrects before the damage becomes unrecoverable, and based on what the paper shows, I don't think it corrects on its own because the model already explained why it can't. Now, if this video did something for you, if something clicked, go ahead and drop a like. It helps more people find it and tells me to keep going. If you just disliked this video, let me know how I can improve. Now, if you want more of this corporate AI, accountability, tech news with actual analysis, some coding content, the occasional gaming take that maybe nobody asked for, go ahead and subscribe. I mean, unless you're not going to, in which case, I need you to think very carefully about your choices because I might be forced to banish you to the Shadow Realm.
No. Much better.
And from what I've heard, the Wi-Fi is terrible and nobody in there is having a good time. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope to be able to get moved and set up as quickly as possible so that I can make more regular videos for you guys. Peace out.